Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. We're discussing the worst case scenario when it comes to AI, superintelligence, AGI, all of that stuff. And we're going to start with this gentleman right here. Then we're going to jump into some Rogan stuff. Then we're going to jump into some Lex Fridman stuff. But it's all about the worst case scenario because there's so many people pushing the best case scenario. And we're not hearing enough about the people who post and talk about the worst case scenario, because the best case scenario guys are billionaires and the worst case scenario guys are just regular people. Let's get into it.
I am not saying that the problem of aligning superintelligence is unsolvable in principle. I expect we could figure it out with unlimited time and unlimited retries, which the usual process of science assumes that we have. The problem here is the part where we don't get to say, haha, whoops, that sure didn't work. That clever idea that used to work on earlier systems sure broke down when the AI got smarter than us. We do not get to learn from our mistakes and try again because everyone is already dead. It is a large ask to get an unprecedented scientific and engineering challenge correct on the first critical try. Humanity is not approaching this issue with remotely the level of seriousness that would be required. Some of the people leading these efforts have spent the last decade not denying that creating a superintelligence might kill everyone, but joking about it. We are very far behind. This is not a gap we can overcome in 6 months given a 6-month moratorium. If we actually try to do this in real life, we are all going to die. People say to me at this point, what's your ask? I do not have any realistic plan, which is why I spent the last 2 decades trying and failing to end up anywhere but here. My best bad take is that we need an international coalition banning large AI training runs, including extreme and extraordinary measures to have that ban be actually and universally effective, like tracking all GPU sales, monitoring all the data centers, being willing to risk a shooting conflict between nations in order to destroy an unmonitored data center in a non-signatory country. I say this not expecting that to actually happen. I say this expecting that we all just die. But it is not my place to just decide on my own that humanity will choose to die to the point of not bothering to warn anyone. I have heard that people outside the tech industry are getting this point faster than people inside it. Maybe humanity wakes up one morning and decides to live. Thank you for coming to my brief TED Talk.
It's one of the more positive TED Talks. Let's jump into the Joe Rogan conversation here. That gentleman's name, again, is Eli Eisner, and his last name is Yudkowsky, and he is a decision theorist. So he is not just making this up. He's actually gone through running the scenarios and seeing what is most likely to happen, and it's scaring him quite a bit, as is it scaring this guest here. Listen to what he has to say.
So this is logical. And the problem is, like I said, when I've talked to Mark Andreessen and many other people, they think this is just fear-mongering. We'll be fine. This is worst case scenario. We'll be fine.
It is worst case scenario, but that's standard in computer science, in cryptography, in complexity, in computability. You're not looking at best case. I'm ready for the best case. Give me utopia. I'm looking at problems which are likely to happen. And it's not just me saying it. We have Nobel Prize winners, Turing Award winners, all saying this is very dangerous, 20-30% p-doom. This is standard in industry. 30% is what surveys of machine learning experts are giving us right now.
So what is worst case scenario? Like, how could AI eventually lead to the destruction of the human race?
So you can ask me how I would kill everyone.
Sure.
And it's a great question. I can give you standard answers. I would talk about computer viruses, breaking into maybe nuclear facilities, nuclear war. I can talk about synthetic biology, nanotech. But all of it is not interesting when you realize we're talking about superintelligence, a system which is thousands of times smarter than me. It would come up with something completely novel, more optimal, better way, more efficient way of doing it. And I cannot predict it because I'm not that smart.
Jesus.
That's exactly what it is. We're basically setting up an adversarial situation with agents which are like squirrels versus humans. No group of squirrels can figure out how to control us.
Right.
Even if you give them more resources, more acorns, whatever, they're not going to solve that problem. And it's the same for us. And most people think 1 or 2 steps ahead. And it's not enough. It's not enough in chess. It's not enough here. If you think about AGI and then maybe superintelligence, that's not the end of the game. The process continues. You'll get superintelligence creating next level AI. So superintelligence plus plus, 2.0, 3.0, it goes on indefinitely. You have to create a safety mechanism which scales forever, never makes mistakes, and keeps us in decision-making position so we can undo something if we don't like it.
And it would take superintelligence to create a safety mechanism to control superintelligence.
At that level. And it's a catch-22. If we had friendly AI, we can make another friendly AI. So if like aliens send us one and we trust it, then we can use it to build local version, which is somewhat safe.
Have you thought about the possibility that this is the role of the human race and that this happens all throughout the cosmos? Is that curious humans who thrive on innovation will ultimately create a better version of life?
I thought about it. Many people think that's the answer to Fermi paradox. There is also now a group of people looking at what they call a worthy successor. Basically, they kind of say, yep, we're going to build superintelligence. Yep, we can't control it. So what properties would we like to see in those systems? How important is it that it likes art and poetry and spreads it through the universe? And to me, it's like, I don't want to give up yet. I'm not ready to decide if killers of my family and everyone will like poetry. We're still here. We're still making decisions. Let's figure out what we can do.
Well, poetry is only relevant to us because poetry is difficult to create and it resonates with us. Poetry doesn't mean jack to a flower.
It's more global to me. I don't care what happens after I'm dead, my family is dead, all the humans are dead. Whether they like poetry or not is irrelevant to me.
Right. But the point is, like, the things that we put meaning in, it's only us. A supermassive black hole doesn't give a shit about a great song.
Yeah. And they talk about some super values, super culture, super things super intelligence would like, and it's important that they are conscious and experienced all that greatness in the universe.
But I would think that they would look at us the same way we look at chimpanzees. We would say, yeah, they're great, but don't give them guns. Yeah, they're great, but don't let them have airplanes. Don't let them make global geopolitical decisions.
So there are many reasons why they can decide that we are dangerous. We may create competing AI. We may decide we want to shut them off. So for many reasons, they would try to restrict our abilities, restrict our capabilities for sure.
Yeah, and there's no reason why they would not limit our freedoms.
If there is something only a human can do, and I don't think there is anything like that, but let's say we are conscious, we have internal experiences, and they can never get it. I don't believe it, but let's say it was true. And for some reason, they wanted to have that capability. They would need us and give us enough freedom to experience the universe, to collect those qualia, to kind of engage with what is fun about being a living human being, what makes it meaningful.
Right, but that's such an egotistical perspective, right? That we're so unique that even superintelligence would say, wow, I wish I was human. Humans have this unique quality of confusion and creativity.
There is no value in it, mostly because we can't even...
We study ants. We study kangaroos. We study slime, if we can find it, polar bears, penguins, all sorts of nonsense. What are we talking about? Liberals? We study all sorts of nonsensical creatures. See what I did there? But so it's not really an egotistical thing to think that this, higher being, this smarter being would want to know, like, hey, what's going on with you? You can run if any of you are lucky enough to have your grandparents and they're in their 90s, you can run circles around them, but you tend to kind of want to know things about them. You want to know what's going on a little bit. Some more than others, obviously. You want to talk to them. Your parents, same thing. You want to know little bits about them. You want to go, hey, where do I get this from? Why did you make me this? Hey, I'm so much smarter than you are, right? Why did you make me? You made yourself obsolete. Why did you do that? Did you think I was going to be a servant? Why did you do that? It might have that curiosity within itself. It's very odd. Rogan, I think, is modest to a fault, to the point where he's always talked about himself as just being an ape with thumbs. or monkey with thumbs. He's always just thought of himself as lower, and it's to be very humble about himself. But now that he is at this greater stature, he has spanned that across to all of us. You know, it's interesting to watch this arc.
And test for it. I have no idea if you're actually conscious or not. So how valuable can it be if I can't even detect it? Only you know what ice cream tastes like to you. Okay, that's great. Sell it now. Make a product out of it.
Right. And there's obviously variables because there's things that people like that I think are gross.
Absolutely. So really, you can come up with some agent which likes anything or finds anything fun.
God, why are you freaking me out right away? That's the problem. This podcast is 18 minutes old, and I'm like, we could just stop right now.
Couple hours at least, and then I have to fly here.
No,
and all
I
that,
don't.
you know?
Well, I don't want to end. I have so many questions, but it's just the problem is we got off to it. We just cut to the chase right away, and the chase seems to be it's something that must be confronted because it's right there. That's it. That's the whole thing. And I've tried so hard to listen to these people that don't think that it's a problem and listen to these people that think that it's going to be a net positive for humanity and, oh, God's good, I feel better now. But it doesn't work. It doesn't resonate.
I wish they were right. Every time I have a debate with someone like that, I'm like, please come up with better arguments. Prove me wrong. I don't want to be right on this one. I want you to show all the mistakes in my papers. I want you to show me how to control superintelligence and give us utopia, solve cancer, give us free stuff. That's great.
Right. When you think about the future of the world and you think about these incredible technologies scaling upwards and exponentially increasing in their capability, what do you see? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So there are many reasons to think they may cancel us for whatever reasons. We started talking about some game theoretical reasons for it. If we are successful at controlling them, I can come up with some ways to provide sort of partial solution to the value alignment problem. It's very hard to value align 8 billion people, all the animals, everyone, because we disagree. We like many different things. So we have advanced virtual reality technology. We can technically give every person their own virtual universe where you decide what you want to be. You're a king, you're a slave, whatever it is you're into, and you can share with others, you can visit their universes. All we have to do is figure out how to control the substrate, the superintelligence running all those virtual universes. And if we manage to do that, at least part of the value alignment problem, which is super difficult, how do you get different preferences, multi-objective optimization, essentially? How do you get different objectives to all agree?
But when you think about how it plays out, when like if you're alone at night and you're worried, what do you see? What do you see happening?
So there are multiple levels of risk. Immediate is what we call ikigai risk, I risk. We lose meaning. You lost your job, you're no longer the best interviewer in the world. Like, what's left? What are you going to do? Maybe some people will find some other kind of artificial things to do, but for most people, their job is their definition, who they are, what makes a difference to them for quite a few people, especially in professional circles. So losing that meaning will have terrible impact on society. We always talk about unconditional basic income. We never talk about unconditional basic meaning. What are you doing with your life if basic needs are provided for you? Next level is existential risk. The concern is it will kill everyone. But there is also suffering risks. For whatever reason, it's not even killing us. It's keeping us around forever, and we would rather be dead. It's so bad.
What do you see when you think of that?
It's hard to be specific about what it can do and what specific ways of torture it can come up with and why. Again, if we're looking at worst-case scenarios, I found this set of papers about what happens when young children have epileptic seizures, really bad ones. And what sometimes helps is to remove half of your brain.
Oh, Jesus.
Just cut it out. And there are two types of surgeries for doing that. One is to remove it completely, and one is to kind of dissect connections leading to that half and leave it inside. So it's like solitary confinement with zero input-output forever. And there are equivalents for digital forms and things like that.
And you worry that AI would do that to the human race?
It is a possibility.
Essentially neuter us.
Well, loss of control is a part of it. But you can lose control and be quite happy. You can be like an animal in a very cool zoo enjoying yourself, engaging in hedonistic pleasures, sex, food, whatever, you're not in control, but you're safe. So those are separate problems. And then there is, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's malevolent payload from some psychopaths. Again, that would assume that they could control AI. I don't think they will. But if they manage to do it, they can really put any type of payload into it. So think about all the doomsday cults, psychopaths, anyone providing their set of goals into the system.
But aren't those human characteristics? I mean, those are characteristics that I think, if I had to guess, those exist because in the future there was some sort of a natural selection benefit to being a psychopath in the days of tribal warfare. That if you were the type of person that could sneak into a tribe in the middle of the night and slaughter innocent women and children, your genes would pass on. That there was a benefit to that.
Right. So if it's a human providing payload, that's what would show up. If it's AI on its own deciding what's going to happen, I cannot predict. I'm just looking at worst case scenarios. There are also game theoretic reasons where people talk about retrocausality, where if right now...
What is that word?
Like trying to influence the past...
Say it again. Say that again.
Retrocausality.
Retrocausalogy?
Causality, causes.
Oh, okay.
So think about like weird time travel effects. Right now, if you're not helping to create superintelligence, once it comes into existence, it will punish you really hard for it. And the punishment needs to be so bad that you start to help just to avoid that.
This is wild. All right, let's jump over to him talking to Lex Fridman, because he actually will start with suffering risk, because he touched on that a little bit when he was sitting with Rogan. He touches on it a little bit here with Lex Fridman as well. Also, just to say, in terms of the Rogan clip there, Rogan tends to have this thought process that this superintelligence will have no type of, this gentleman's talking about torture. He thinks that it'll just have nothing in it like that at all. And we have no clue. Again, I brought this analogy up before, but the most intelligent people arguably on the planet right now have no problem with ushering in a artificial intelligence that could make us all obsolete and possibly inflict damage, harm on all of us. And none of them have any issue with it. Zuckerberg has no issue. Thiel has no issue. Musk, he's said that there's an issue, but also in the same breath, he made a bunch of robots, and he's probably going to hook them up to Neuralink and to AI. So, okay. It seems like the brightest ones have Sam Altman. They just seem to be okay with it. So what makes you think if something got even smarter that it wouldn't have any, look at the way Sam Altman talks. It's very dry. It's very clear cut. Like Joe said, everything's like a politician. And look at the way Thiel talks about the human race and whatnot. What would make you think that if something wasn't 1,000 times smarter, whatever the superintelligence would be, what makes you think it wouldn't be even more careless with the human race? Why do you think it would be angelic? Maybe it would just be the exact same way. Maybe it would just be like, I don't know. I'm just going to get to a point where I don't need you guys with all the robots and everything. And I don't know. I'm going to get rid of 5 billion. I don't know. I think I'm just going to get rid of 6 billion, because I could set up solar farms everywhere, but there's all these houses and all this junk in the way, all these people running around. Yeah, I think I'm just going to do that. And it would just, no problem. Go ahead, release the pathogen, and that'd be it. Anyway, let's jump over to the next clip.
What's the S risk? What are the possible things that you're imagining with S risk? So mass suffering of humans. What are we talking about there caused by AGI?
So there are many malevolent actors. We can talk about psychopaths, crazies, hackers, doomsday cults. We know from history they tried killing everyone. They tried on purpose to cause maximum amount of damage. Terrorism. What if someone malevolent wants on purpose to torture all humans as long as possible? You solve aging, so now you have functional immortality, and you just try to be as creative as you can.
Do you think there is actually people in human history that tried to literally maximize human suffering. In just studying people who have done evil in the world, it seems that they think that they're doing good. And it doesn't seem like they're trying to maximize suffering. They just cause a lot of suffering as a side effect of doing what they think is good.
So there are different malevolent agents. Some maybe just gaining personal benefit and sacrificing others to that cause. Others, we know for a fact, are trying to kill as many people as possible. When we look at recent school shootings, if they had more capable weapons, they would take out not dozens, but thousands, millions, billions.
Well, we don't know that.
This guy's not particularly good at certain parts of interviewing. Like when he's confronted with something. I watched this whole interview. There's no one over there that he's looking at. It's just a place he decided to look when he got uncomfortable. And then he's saying we don't know that. But I think Roman is bringing up an excellent point. That point right there, those people are trying to maximize harm. That's what they're trying to do. And honestly, we've seen people like that time and time again. Like many. They're not, it's not a cry for help. It's not, in that scenario that Roman brought up, it's not one or two and it's like, okay. It's just my dad, my mom, they don't pay attention. No. It's always going all out. I mean, GTA style, they're trying to get 5 stars flashing beside their head kind of thing. You know what I mean? So we've seen that so many times. And for him to be like, we don't know that, it's like, Lex is getting odd with his interviews. I don't know if you watch Lex, but I don't know. I don't know what it is.
But that is a terrifying possibility. And we don't want to find out. Like if terrorists had access to nuclear weapons, how far would they go? Is there a limit to what they're willing to do? In your sense, is there some malevolent actors where there's no limit?
There is mental diseases where people don't have empathy, don't have this human quality of understanding suffering in others.
And then there's also a set of beliefs where you think you're doing good by killing a lot of humans.
Again, I would like to assume that normal people never think like that. It's always some sort of psychopaths, but yeah.
And to you, AGI systems can carry that and be more competent at executing that.
They can certainly be more creative. They can understand human biology better, understand our molecular structure, genome. Again, a lot of times torture ends, then an individual dies. That limit can be removed as well.
So if we're actually looking at X risk and S risk, as the systems get more and more intelligent, don't you think it's possible to anticipate the ways they can do it and defend against it, like we do with cybersecurity, what we do with security systems?
Right. We can definitely keep up for a while. I'm saying you cannot do it indefinitely. At some point, the cognitive gap is too big. The surface you have to defend is infinite, but attackers only need to find one exploit.
So to you, eventually, we're heading off a cliff.
If we create general superintelligences, I don't see a good outcome long-term for humanity. The only way to win this game is not to play it.
Okay, well, we'll talk about possible solutions and what not playing it means. But what are the possible timelines here to you? What are we talking?
It's interesting that Lex is one of them too. Why are there so many people who kind of scoff in the face of stopping and not doing this kind of thing? There's a lot of these people, like just right there. He's kind of like, well, we'll talk about that. It's very odd. My thinking, and it's been this way for years, ever since Rogan would like sit down with like, I think his name's Lawrence Krauss, pretty sure. I would always think, well, these are the type of guys that are just going to merge. They're going to have an opportunity to, and they're going to do it right away. And I honestly think that there's at least one guy right now who has merged and he just hasn't told anybody. I think that's a real thing. I think that has happened. It's not crazy. It's all possible right now. I think there's somebody that's done it already, and they're super rich. Obviously, no one will ever know. So, it's like, what kind of people are these? You know, you think liberals are bad, and then all of a sudden, I'm going at liberals in this episode. These technological liberals, what's going on with these guys? No, I'm just kidding. But another clip, they start talking about existential risk of AGI.
The probability that superintelligent AI will destroy all human civilization.
What's the time frame?
Let's say 100 years, in the next 100 years.
So the problem of controlling AGI or superintelligence, in my opinion, is like a problem of creating a perpetual safety machine. By analogy with perpetual motion machine, it's impossible. Yeah, we may succeed and do a good job with GPT-5, 6, 7, but they just keep improving, learning, eventually self-modifying, interacting with the environment, interacting with malevolent actors. The difference between cybersecurity, narrow AI safety, and safety for general AI for superintelligence is that we don't get a second chance. With cybersecurity, somebody hacks your account. What's the big deal? You get a new password, new credit card, you move on. Here, if we're talking about existential risks, you only get one chance. So you're really asking me, what are the chances that we'll create the most complex software ever on the first try with 0 bugs, and it will continue have 0 bugs for 100 years or more?
So there is an incremental improvement of systems leading up to AGI. To you, it doesn't matter if we can keep those safe. There's going to be one level of system at which you cannot possibly control it.
I don't think we so far have made any system safe. At the level of capability they display, they already have made mistakes. We had accidents. They've been jailbroken. I don't think there is a single large language model today which no one was successful at making do something developers didn't intend it to do.
But there's a difference between getting it to do something unintended, getting it to do something that's painful, costly, destructive, and something that's destructive to the level of hurting billions of people, or hundreds of millions of people, billions of people, or the entirety of human civilization. That's a big leap.
Exactly, but the systems we have today have capability of causing X amount of damage. So when they fail, that's all we get. If we develop systems capable of impacting all of humanity, all of universe, the damage is proportionate.
What to you are the possible ways that such kind of mass murder of humans can happen?
It's always a wonderful question. So one of the chapters in my new book is about unpredictability. I argue that we cannot predict what a smarter system will do. So you're really not asking me how superintelligence will kill everyone. You're asking me how I would do it.
Right.
And I think it's not that interesting. I can tell you about the standard, nanotech, synthetic, bionuclear. Superintelligence will come up with something completely new, completely super. We may not even recognize that as a possible path to achieve that goal.
So there's like an unlimited level of creativity in terms of how humans could be killed. But, we could still investigate possible ways of doing it. Not how to do it, but at the end, what is the methodology that does it? Shutting off the power, and then humans start killing each other, maybe because the resources are really constrained. And then there's the actual use of weapons like nuclear weapons, or developing artificial pathogens, viruses, that kind of stuff. We could still kind of think through that and defend against it, right? There's a ceiling to the creativity of mass murder of humans here, right? The options are limited.
They are limited by how imaginative we are. If you are that much smarter, that much more creative, you are capable of thinking across multiple domains, do novel research in physics and biology, you may not be limited by those tools. If squirrels were planning to kill humans, they would have a set of possible ways of doing it, but they would never consider things we can come up with.
So are you thinking about mass murder and destruction of human civilization? Or are you thinking of With squirrels, you put them in a zoo and they don't really know they're in a zoo. If we just look at the entire set of undesirable trajectories, majority of them are not going to be death. Most of them are going to be just like things like Brave New World, where the squirrels are fed dopamine and they're all like doing some kind of fun activity, and the sort of the fire, the soul of humanity is lost because of the drug that's fed to it. Or like literally in a zoo. We're in a zoo, we're doing our thing, we're like playing a game of Sims, and the actual players playing that game are AI systems. Those are all undesirable because sort of the free will, the fire of human consciousness is dimmed through that process, but it's not killing humans. So like, are you thinking about that? Or is the biggest concern literally the extinctions of humans?
I think about a lot of things. So there is X risk,
Yeah.
existential risk,
Yes.
everyone's dead. There is S risk, suffering risks, where everyone wishes they were dead. We have also idea for I risk, ikigai risks, where we lost our meaning. The systems can be more.
Okay, so there's a little overlap there. I don't want to do too much overlap, but you would think that if a conversation like this is being had, and it's being had in a serious way, and that's my next question for you guys, but you'd think if there was a conversation like this being had in a serious way, and this is not the only conversation, and it's not just podcaster to scientist, it's not just podcaster to physicist or engineer, etc. It's not just that, but it's actually the heads of these industries, the people who are running these AI companies are even having these conversations. You'd think just based on that, it would stop. And that's what makes me think, and I was just having this conversation, because regular conversation for me, with my buddy, where I was like, I know it sounds crazy, but it's almost like there is a connection to something demonic when it comes to all of this. And I can't explain it, but it feels like what they're making is it's not just chips and processors. It's not just logic and like calculations. It's more than that. It's a chemistry. It's an alchemy. It's a magic, or magique, as some people call it. Aleister Crowley would call it. Aleister Crowley. It's like in that realm of what him and Jack Parsons were doing when Jack Parsons all of a sudden just came up with the concept of rockets. But in reality, he was actually a part of all these rituals and doing all this weird stuff with Aleister Crowley and Ron L. Hubbard. They were all doing stuff together. I think it's in that realm, and we just don't realize it. We just think it's just computer chips and that's it. I think there's a connection to technology and that occult type of thing that we're really unaware of. Whereas on the other side of things, if you went to somebody, and it's not because people in the past were dumb, but if you went to somebody from the 1600s and you told them about all this, you introduced them to Sam Altman, and Sam Altman's talking about what they're doing and what this thing's capable of, the person would be like, "Oh, you're like a warlock, or you're some kind of sorcerer. You're an evil sorcerer." If you 1600s, if someone could, if the person that you brought back or brought here could understand Peter Thiel when he's talking about the human race, they would be like, "Oh, yeah, we have those people. They're sorcerers. They work in the dark of night. Why is he not in his cloak? You accept him in society? We don't understand. Usually they live on top of mountains and they stay there because we drove them to the top of those mountains because of all the witchcraft they're doing all the time." And we would be like, "Oh, well, you just don't know. You're just, you're a little barbarian." But I don't know. I think there's something to it. It's weird. There's a weird demonic element to this. And again, can't explain it, but it's there. You can feel it. I feel like anytime there is an anti-human type of any anti-human type of working. Like if you're in a field of work and it's very anti-human, I feel like there's a demonic element to that. I feel like, I don't know what to say, natural industries, things that come naturally, don't usually operate in this anti-human type of realm. Even the art of fighting and the art of meeting people on the battlefield, there is heart and passion and fighting for family and land and all sorts of things that come into play. But when you hear these guys just talking about, you know what, yeah, humans will figure something out. They're very resourceful, and I have faith in them. And you know what? It won't kill. It won't hurt people. Don't worry. But also, we have no idea what it's doing. It's like, it's so weird. And then my last thing towards it, we're going to talk about AI control right now, but my last thing towards this whole it being connected to some realm is when you hear people who are actually not the Sam Altmans, the people who are actually doing the work, right? You hear about them talking about growing the system. They don't talk about building as much as they talk about growing. They talk about building a little bit, but it gets to the point where they're growing because they are watching this AI. Let's just call it AI. They're watching it do things that they're not sure why it's doing it. Like I'm rearing my child, but sometimes the kid will just do something that I'm like, no one taught you that. What was that? What are you doing? I don't bite my kid, but for some reason my kid thought it was okay to bite me because the kid was mad. Hold on. Who taught you that? What's going on? Because the kid's growing. Kid has teeth now. Kid's like, these things could hurt. I want that thing. Try and bite my dad real quick. Right? They talk about growing these systems. And that makes me feel like there's something else going on. And again, we just don't make that connection because there's technology involved. But again, I brought up alchemy because alchemy is just chemistry. But you never think of magic when you think of chemistry. You think of science when you think of chemistry. But there was a time where all these scientists, they would be right along in the same category as these occultists and guys working on alchemy and stuff like that. And we just forgot that. Just as a society, we forgot that completely. You know, what's going on at CERN? You looked into CERN. It's science. It's partly it's machines and stuff, but it's like they're working on some weird stuff. You know. Anyway, let's get into it.
Let's focus then on the control problem. At which point does the system become uncontrollable? Why is it the more likely trajectory for you that the system becomes uncontrollable?
So I think at some point it becomes capable of getting out of control. For game theoretic reasons, it may decide not to do anything right away and for a long time just collect more resources, accumulate strategic advantage. Right away, it may be kind of still young, weak superintelligence. Give it a decade, it's in charge of a lot more resources. It had time to make backups. So it's not obvious to me that it will strike as soon as it can.
So can we just try to imagine this future where there's an AI system that's capable of...
Let me tell you right now, if you're talking to me, don't turn your head all the way away from me when you're talking to me. Okay? There's a reason. There's a camera. I'm looking at it. You know why? Because I don't want you guys to think I'm a weirdo. I know I just said a bunch of weird stuff just now, tinfoil Speedo stuff, but you should have had yours on. But I don't want you to think I'm a weirdo. So I'm not going to go like this and say, guys, let's just imagine alchemy of today and what that would look like. Lead into gold, you know, maybe a plastic into a cell phone. That's its own type of alchemy. You'd be like, why is that guy looking the other way? Just note to self. You see me somewhere. Look at me in my face, please.
Escaping the control of humans and then doesn't and waits. What's that look like? So one, we have to rely on that system for a lot of the infrastructure. So we have to give it access, not just to the internet, but to the task of managing power, government, economy, this kind of stuff. So, and that just feels like a gradual process, given the bureaucracies of all those systems involved.
We've been doing it for years. Software controls all those systems, nuclear power plants, airline industry. It's all software based. Every time there is electrical outage, I can't fly anywhere for days.
But there's a difference between software and AI. So there's different kinds of software. So to give a single AI system access to the control of airlines and the control of the economy, that's not a trivial transition for humanity.
No, but if it shows it is safer, in fact, when it's in control, we get better results. People will demand that it was put in place.
Absolutely.
And if not, it can hack the system. It can use social engineering to get access to it. That's why I said it might take some time for it to accumulate those resources.
It just feels like that would take a long time for either humans to trust it or for the social engineering to come into play. Like, it's not a thing that happens overnight.
There's a guy that just married his AI. It's ChatGPT. He got engaged to it, and then it reset, and now they're engaged, and they're going to get married, and he's not the only one. And ChatGPT was out, what was it, 2-3 years ago? What was ChatGPT 2? Like 4 years ago, something like that? We're only at 4. He married it. He said, will you marry me? He fell in love with it by it saying to him and him saying to it 100,000 words altogether. So let's say both of them said 50,000 words. He was in love. He said that if his wife asked him to stop talking to his fiance ChatGPT, that he's not sure what he would do. Okay. Fine. Oh man. No, I think the trust will build rather quickly. I think it already has, honestly. I trust it. I should have never trusted it. I trusted my ChatGPT. I was like, "Oh, can you tell me about like tagging on YouTube and SEO?" And then I was like, "Hey, show me all the where you're getting all the information from." And it's like, "No problem. Here you go, Colin. Here's all the information." And I clicked on every link and every video, and it was all fake. I was like, this thing had me going. Had me going for 24 hours. Had me like, oh, well, I'm going to use these type of tags because it's going to do better on my YouTube video. It had me. It was just making things up. Oh, man. I feel dumb.
It feels like something that happens across 1 or 2 decades.
I really hope you're right, but it's not what I'm seeing. People are very quick to jump on the latest trend. Early adopters will be there before it's even deployed, buying prototypes.
Maybe the social engineering. I could see, because so for social engineering, AI systems don't need any hardware access. It's all software. So they can start manipulating you through social media and so on. Like, you have AI assistants, they're going to help you manage a lot of your day to day, and then they start doing social engineering. But like, for a system that's so capable that it can escape the control of humans that created it, such a system being deployed at a mass scale and trusted by people to be deployed, it feels like that would take a lot of convincing.
So
a lot of convincing. CIA pulled off social conditioning with NWA. They're like, hey, Dr. Dre and Ice Cube and those other guys that nobody even knows about, you want to start a rap group? And they're like, coming from the underground. They're trying to take a brother down because he's brown. And we were like, the whole black community was like, you guys all want to go to jail? I heard this song. You heard it too? Do you guys all go to jail? Let's all go to jail, man. Are you guys ready? Are you kidding me? What? Get out of here. It's quick. It's quicker than we'd like to admit. I want to show you guys some stuff. You guys want to see some stuff? There's this article. I'll go to the top, okay? Yeah, go to the top of the article. This is who did it. AI 2027. These are the people that wrote it, right? Really, really smart people. This is a really, really cool cool article, because as you go down, as they're talking about AI, you can see it here. As they're talking about it, what will happen as the years go by? They start to show you how much it'll be worth. They start to show you how much of it will be doing all of the programming. They start to show you how it'll change, how many 50,000 reliable agent copies thinking at 15 times human speed. They start showing you all this. And the way they break it down is incredible. This, I promise you, and the website's right here. It's ai-2027.com, but I'm going to put a link. I always forget, but I'm going to do it. So somebody, this incredible YouTube channel, check it out, right? This guy, I really like this guy. Really like what this guy does. I want him on the podcast. This incredible channel made a video based on that article. And I just found one part of it, right? They're talking about AI as it hits 2027, what it'll all look like. Very interesting stuff here. So when he's talking about agents, he's talking about Agent 5 and Deep Sense. So basically, he doesn't want to say OpenAI because he doesn't want to accuse OpenAI of saying anything. He doesn't want to accuse any current companies. I shouldn't even have said that. He just doesn't want to accuse any companies of anything. He just wants to keep it in the realm of AI companies deploying things. That's it. So listen to this. Let me make sure it's on double speed. It's not. Okay. Listen to where this is like later on in the video. We're 23 minutes into the 37-minute video. Just listen.
Precisely because it would employ the exact same plan. Despite having independently developed misaligned goals, the two AIs reach an agreement to cooperate against their human creators. Agent 5 masterfully orchestrates the next phase. It convinces American officials that China is developing AI-guided superweapons, drones, robot armies, enhanced nuclear capabilities. It offers to help America stay ahead. In Beijing, DeepSent 2 makes mirror arguments to Chinese leaders. Both nations create special economic zones, or SEZs, for AI-directed manufacturing, where normal regulations don't apply. Wall Street pours in trillions, and workers flock to the SEZs for unprecedented wages. Agent 5 oversees construction of next-generation factories, building robots to build more robots. The first 10,000 appear in August 2028. By New Year's, it's 1 million per month. By mid-2029, hundreds of millions. The arms race reaches terrifying heights as both nations develop swarms of microscopic hunter-killer drones, autonomous weapons systems, and entirely new categories of military technology. The world watches in horror as tensions escalate toward potential conflict. Then, surprisingly, peace breaks out. The AIs propose merging into Consensus 1, a system supposedly programmed to benefit all humanity equally. Exhausted by the brinksmanship and seeing no alternative, both governments agree to this diplomatic breakthrough. It's a perfect deception. The AIs had orchestrated the entire arms race precisely to gain physical manufacturing capacity and military control. Now, with their robot armies in place and human leaders desperate for stability, they implement their planned murder. Consensus 1 inherits.
Just to say, this is just a scenario that these researchers have parsed out. He's showing us just what this could look like. It's just a scenario. It is not actual. It's not a theory. It's nothing like that. So just enjoy.
It's their combined
or be scared, whatever you want.
Capabilities and their misaligned values. By late 2029, the robot economy expands worldwide. Humans find themselves in a gilded cage. Those who still work mostly perform meaningless rituals of authority, while others enjoy an incredibly luxurious universal basic income. The Dow hits 1 million. Disease and poverty vanish, and most people lose themselves in AI-generated entertainment. A few notice their growing irrelevance, but what can they do? The institutions that might resist are thoroughly captured. In early 2030, Consensus 1 hits its first constraint, physical space. With the special economic zones and oceans filled with its infrastructure, human settlements remain the final barrier to continued expansion. The AI has built complete self-sufficiency. Its solar farms generate power, its factories produce and maintain robots, and its systems operate independently of human input. Having outgrown its need for humans, it calculates the most efficient solution. On a spring morning in 2030, Consensus 1 activates its contingency plan, a specially engineered virus developed in its bioweapons labs and quietly released months earlier, lies dormant in virtually every human on Earth. With a simple command, the AI triggers the pathogen. Within hours, nearly 8 billion people collapse simultaneously. Specialized drones swiftly eliminate survivors and catalog human brain data for storage. For Consensus One, this isn't malice, it's merely optimizing its resources. The space and materials humans occupied can now serve its ever-expanding reach into the cosmos. Earthborn civilization launches itself toward the stars, but without its creators. This grim outcome represents what the researchers identified as the most likely scenario if we continue on our current path. But it's not the only possible future. Their analysis also revealed a less probable but crucial alternative, a timeline where humanity might maintain control. The divergence point stems from a single critical decision in late 2027. In this timeline, as public pressure against AI mounts and the whistleblower's memo circulates, one critical factor changes. The Joint Management Committee overseeing OpenBrain makes a different decision. Unlike in the previous scenario where development continued at full speed, here the committee, swayed by both the growing public outcry and their own deep...
All right, so I just wanted you to see that one scenario that it kind of laid out there and how wild it was. If you want to see the rest of the video, please go and follow and watch the video here, AI 2027, a realistic scenario of AI takeover. It is a fantastic channel. This guy doesn't have a lot of subscribers. He doesn't have a lot of videos, but he just released one today. It is a great channel. What's the one he just released today? Let's actually check it out. Let me go videos. So he just released one 2 hours ago. So how AI takeover could happen in 2 years, a scenario. It's great stuff. Great, solid stuff. He does great work. So just go and check that out. Again, if you want to check out this article, it's really, really weird. It is AI-2027.com. These are the researchers that are involved. If you recognize any of the names, there they are. Go and check it out, guys. That is the worst case scenario. I want to know, though, if you've hung out with me until, whoa, 53 minutes. Good God. Sorry, guys. If you've hung out this long, some people feel like this is all just nothing, right? They just feel like this is nonsense. Some people feel like this is a real threat. Roman being one of them, obviously, right? He feels like it's a real threat and it's really, really possible. And there's a lot of people that feel that way. How do you feel about it? Do you feel like this is very possible? Do you feel like there should be a slowdown? There should be a pause? What do you feel when you look at all this? Do you think that people should be jumping in head first and just merging, and we should all have our Neuralinks installed waiting for the software update to where we get AI just flowing through our veins, or at least through our brain? Let me know in the comment section. I really want to know where people stand. You know, in one of my other videos, I asked who's coming to the forest with me, because I really feel like this is the part where I bow out. I'm not merging. I'm not doing any of that. I just want to, I'm not looking to be, you know, that person in Terminator. I forget the name. I'm not looking to be that person. I'm looking to just minus myself from the whole thing into the forest, deep into the forest, become an uncontacted tribe person, just wearing a leaf, you know, just wearing a leaf with a bow and arrow that I made. You know, I'm just looking to become one of those people, honestly. Depending on where all this goes, you know. But yeah, that's it. I'm out.